No alarms, no warning, just a quiet shoreline, calm water, and Russian sentries expecting another uneventful shift. But beneath that stillness, a strike package was already in motion. Neptune missiles were hugging the curvature of the Earth. Ukrainian UAV swarms were rising like static across the Black Sea. And one of Russia's most fortified ports was about to be stripped open in real time. By sunrise, Novorossiysk, the $20 billion lifeline of Russian fuel logistics, would be burning. Its S-400 would be silent, its command network blind. 4 missiles fired from more than 600 kilometers away would rewrite what Moscow believed was untouchable. And it all began with one fact. The attack ran for more than an hour before anyone fully understood what was happening. November 14, 2025. Shortly after midnight, local time conditions along the Novorossiysk Gulf were routine. Russian conscripts rotated through watch posts. Warehouse lights reflected off cranes and moored tankers. Thermal cameras scanned a horizon they believed was secure. To them, this was the safest port in Russia outside Moscow itself. That confidence rested on one system, the S-400. 12 launchers, layered with Pantsir and Tor batteries, formed a defensive dome Russian planners considered impenetrable. The port was larger than St. Petersburg, and Murmansk, a logistical artery feeding oil exports, naval operations, and civilian shipping. It was engineered to survive Western cruise missile saturation. What it was never designed to survive was what came next. The first threat was invisible. It began far from the coastline, deep inside Ukrainian territory near the Odessa region. At a pine-covered site, a single camouflaged truck sat silent. Beneath its control console was a red-covered switch, the kind reserved for decisions that cannot be undone. The non-commissioned officer in the driver's seat paused before lifting the cover. Outside, engineers finalized environmental checks. Wind profile, sea skimming route, intermediate GPS waypoints. Flight corridors minimized to meter-level tolerance. On a laptop screen, thermal mapping displayed the port's defenses. S-400 clusters near the Kuban regiment. Pump stations and tank farms at the Sheskari's terminal blinking with confirmation signals. Inside each launch canister was what the Kremlin feared most: the long-range land attack variant of the Neptune missile, carrying warheads measured in hundreds of kilograms. 4 tubes rose vertically taller than the truck itself. These missiles would fly nearly 1,000 kilometers along a complex profile from Odessa to the Black Sea, then inland toward Novorossiysk. When the launch command came, it was brief. No rhetoric, no drama. Ready. The night cracked open with a deep mechanical roar. The first canister lid blew outward, and a Neptune missile leapt skyward, its booster igniting into a spear of orange light. Then a second, a third, a fourth. In under 15 seconds, the entire strike package was airborne, pivoting from vertical climb to low-altitude descent toward the sea. Cruise speed stabilized around 900 kilometers per hour. Subsonic, but fast enough that radar reaction time would be minimal if early detection failed. At that same moment, Russian operators east of Novorossiysk noticed the first anomaly. Radar screens that had been calm, populated with civilian marine traffic, and routine air activity suddenly filled with unknown contacts. Dozens appeared, then hundreds. To the naked eye, it looked like a swarm. Alarms sounded. Crews responded as trained: classify, lock, engage. But they could not determine what they were seeing, because what they were seeing were not missiles. They were decoy drones. Ukraine had launched FP-1 and FP-2 kamikaze UAVs directly into the radar lobes of the S-400, and its NEBO-M and 96N6 early warning systems. Their signatures were small, unstable, and deliberately chaotic. Flight paths changed, altitude, broke lock, then reappeared. Algorithms struggled to prioritize. Engagement radars failed to isolate individual targets. Human operators had no visual reference to separate decoys from real threats. Beneath that chaos, 4 Neptune missiles flew undetected just meters above sea level. Radar theory became operational reality. The Earth's curvature blocked sight lines. The S-400 can theoretically cover 400 kilometers, but radar cannot bend beyond the horizon. Anything flying below that curve remains invisible until it is dangerously close. Ukraine had designed the attack to exploit this exact physical limitation. The Neptune missiles climbed initially, then dove to sea-skimming altitude as they approached the Black Sea. Their radar cross-section collapsed into ocean clutter. Every decoy overhead multiplied the confusion. Russian officers reacted to what they could see. Dense clusters, large returns, what appeared to be the primary threat. The trained response followed. Fire control was assigned to the highest concentrations. Panzer systems engaged. Tor batteries joined in. S-300 and S-400 missiles launched bright white trails cutting upward into the night. Intercept explosions lit the sky. To inexperienced soldiers watching from rooftops, it looked like a successful defense. Wave after wave being shot down. In reality, it was the opposite. Ukraine had forced Russia's most advanced air defenses to burn expensive interceptors on cheap drones, corrupt their own radar picture, and leave low-altitude corridors completely exposed. While the decoys absorbed fire, the real strike advanced untouched. Only after crossing the coastline did radar finally detect the Neptune silhouettes. By then, they were seconds from impact. The first 2 missiles targeted the Kuban Regiment's S-400 cluster. As they crossed land, they briefly climbed to clear terrain, activating infrared seekers. Thermal imagery immediately highlighted hot components. The rotating 96N6 search radar, the rectangular 92N6 engagement array, launch tubes glowing with residual heat. The missile software compared the image to onboard templates. Match confirmed. Trajectory adjusted. No human intervention. The first Neptune rose sharply, then dove into the center of the cluster. The detonation tore the radar head from its mount, hurling it skyward where it shattered mid-air. Milliseconds later, heat triggered warheads inside ready-to-fire missiles stored nearby. A chain reaction rippled across the site. 4 separate explosions erupted in sequence. The night turned white, then orange. Cameras in the port captured the second impact moments later. A flash followed by delayed thunder. The second Neptune struck another battery near a 92N6 radar. Generators and launch tubes detonated. Russian interceptors were still streaking overhead, unaware their parent radar no longer existed. By dawn, satellite imagery confirmed the damage. At least 4 S-400 launchers destroyed, 2 96N6 radars gone, 2 92M6 engagement arrays eliminated. Surviving launchers remained physically intact, but tactically useless. Blind, deaf, isolated. The shield was down. The remaining 2 Neptune missiles entered Novorossiysk without resistance. Long-range radar coverage was gone. Short-range air defenses were still fixated on decoy swarms. The port's critical infrastructure was exposed. The third missile locked onto the pumping station at the Sheskari's terminal. From a thermal perspective, tank farms appeared as massive circular heat signatures. Pumping stations burned hotter, glowing as bright rectangles. At terminal approach, the missile climbed slightly, then executed a near-vertical dive. detonation occurred directly above the manifold controlling fuel distribution. Shockwaves raced through pipeline networks. Control systems were pulverized instantly. Electrical nodes collapsed. Seconds later, the fourth Neptune struck a full storage tank. Its infrared seeker recognized the heat signature of stored fuel. Impact produced a fireball visible across the entire bay, hydrocarbons feeding the blast, as flames reflected off the water like a second sun. Foreign sailors captured the scene on video, describing it as hellish, not panic. Awe. 4 missiles launched from more than 600 kilometers away had crippled a port Russia believed invulnerable. With air defenses neutralized, a second UAV wave entered. These were not decoys. They were follow-on strike platforms. Some confirmed damage at the pumping station. Others targeted remaining tanks, internal logistics container yards, auxiliary power and control centers. Explosions rippled through the port at irregular intervals. One UAV struck directly atop the energy control hub. Emergency shutdowns attempted to activate, but earlier strikes had already severed parts of the network. Fail-safes failed mid-sequence. Half the port's safety systems never engaged. Fires spread uncontrollably. Tank yards ignited in secondary bursts. Cranes stood silhouetted against towering pillars of flame. At least one civilian vessel was damaged by debris and overpressure. Reports confirmed 3 injured crew members. Footage posted by port workers spread rapidly online. Novorossiysk, a symbol of Russian industrial depth, was visibly burning. The Ministry of Defense released its initial statement. 66 Ukrainian drones shot down. The number may have been technically accurate. Strategically, it was irrelevant. The swarm was never meant to survive, only to distract. The real strike had already landed. The S-400 myth was no longer theoretical. It was broken on video from multiple angles, recorded by civilians and foreign sailors alike. The governor attempted to control the narrative, claiming the situation was contained. Hours later, the city entered an official state of emergency. Independent Russian outlets confirmed a full lockdown of port zones. This was not symbolic damage. It was a strategic breach. Neptune missiles neutralized Russia's strongest air defense system using physics swarm saturation and infrared terminal guidance. 4 warheads, 2 against radar, and launchers, 2 against fuel logistics, temporarily paralyzed the Black Sea's primary fuel distribution hub. Air defense assets worth hundreds of millions were disabled in minutes. Infrastructure valued in the tens of billions burned into daylight. Ukraine did not need hypersonic weapons. It needed an understanding of radar horizons, decoys, routing, and thermal targeting. And it had what it needed: long-range Neptune missiles with heavy payloads. By combining sea-skimming cruise missiles with drone saturation, Ukraine breached a dome Russia believed ironclad. The operation was structured and sequenced. First, blind the radar. Second, ignite the fuel. Third, exploit the chaos with UAV follow-through. This was modern warfare executed through precision, not volume. 4 missiles altered a strategic coastline. And the echo may be more dangerous than the strike itself. Because once an untouchable target is proven vulnerable, nothing protected by the same systems is truly safe again. If you want more deep dive breakdowns like this, follow Titan Navy.